The sun had just begun its descent over the luxurious airfield, casting long shadows across the sprawling grounds where the elite private jet launch event was the talk of the evening. Alice Palmer, her uniform a simple, understated slate gray that matched her eyes, maneuvered the shuttle with practiced ease. Her job was to ferry dignitaries and executives from the private terminal to the tarmac. She kept her focus on the road, her demeanor quiet but attentive, fading into the background, a piece of living scenery in this grand affair. As she pulled up to the entrance for yet another group, a sharply dressed man with a booming laugh stepped inside the shuttle. He barely glanced in her direction, caught up in a conversation on his earpiece. A few women in designer dresses followed, and one commented snidely on Alice's accent, mistaking it for unfamiliarity with the event's prestige. The man laughed, assuming she was a temporary hire unfamiliar with elite decorum. Alice, unfazed, continued her task, her role overwhelmingly unnoticeable. Inside the event, champagne flutes clinked and media cameras flashed as a crowd gathered for the unveiling of the company's latest innovation, a magnificent private jet. The CEO, a striking figure in his tailored suit, took center stage on the tarmac, exuding confidence as he began his speech. But then, the evening's sophisticated veneer crumbled in an instant. The CEO paused, his hand grasping his throat, eyes widening in sudden shock. His polished facade dissolved into panic as he began to choke, his face reddening rapidly. The crowd's chatter turned into a chaotic hum, rising in volume as his distress became unmistakably real. Alice watched from the curb, her heart pounding as she assessed the unfolding chaos, finding herself poised like never before. The onset of pandemonium struck like a bolt of lightning through the crowd as the CEO's choking intensified. Gasps echoed and wine glasses shattered to the pavement, forgotten as the elite gathering devolved into disarray. Security personnel exchanged helpless glances, unsure of how to proceed against this unexpected emergency. Guests darted about frantically, their composed facades rapidly replaced by panic. Amidst the chaos, Alice stepped off the curb, her practical shoes landing on the tarmac with unshakable certainty. Her hand instinctively reached for the discreet pouch she always carried, even on these routine shuttle shifts. Her breath stayed steady as she moved through the throng, her attention laser-focused on the ailing figure at the center of the tumult. A lot of people looked at her with incredulity as she approached. Here was Alice, the overlooked shuttle driver, a woman many presumed wouldn't even comprehend the gravity of the situation, and yet she moved with a dispatch and presence absent from those around her. Ignoring the dismissive stares, Alice addressed the group huddled closest to the CEO. "I need someone to help me support him," she instructed calmly. Her voice, laced with assurance, sliced through the bedlam. A nearby guest, initially frozen in place, nodded stiffly before stepping forward. In her hands was a device unfamiliar to many, compact yet formidable, an anti-choking multi-tool with a specially designed tip that could deliver precise aid. She positioned herself next to the CEO, meeting his terrified gaze with steady eyes. "I'm going to help you breathe," she assured him, her voice a beacon amidst the chaos. Those nearby watched, their skepticism slowly giving way to tentative hope. Alice placed the device expertly and delivered a deft, practiced maneuver. The CEO gasped, his airway clearing as the obstruction, once a life-threatening enemy, was expelled from his throat. Relief cascaded through his body as his complexion began to normalize. The guests lingered in suspense as silence chased away their urgent whispers. The CEO, his breath coming in troubled but life-affirming gasps, nodded weakly in gratitude. Slowly, the gravity of what had transpired sank into the throng, and disbelief morphed into visible admiration for a woman few had bothered to see before. As Alice stepped back, the tension that had suffocated the event ebbed away, leaving murmurs of awe in its wake. Guests began exchanging glances that said what their mouths could not. There was something extraordinary in the calm efficiency with which Alice had handled herself. The attention transformed, pivoting from the spectacle of the jet to the quiet heroism unfolding at its feet. The once hovering security found new purpose in cordoning the area for paramedics, who verified the CEO's condition, regulating the scene with newfound respect for Alice's intervention. A prominent exec, recovering from surprise, stepped toward Alice, offering a tentative handshake. "Thank you," he breathed, genuine gratitude softening his voice. Nearby, murmurs of agreement arose, forming a chorus of collective relief. Alice, typically reserved, responded with an equally measured nod. Though she sought no recognition, the grateful looks in their eyes were disarming. The event's staff and guests continued processing the reality of what had just unfolded. They clustered into small groups, recounting the events to one another with gestural flourishes. "She just knew what to do," a woman confided to her companion, her tone a mix of astonishment and respect. As calm descended once more, Alice's heart pounded with the enormity of the situation. Her hands, still steady, cradled the tool again, habitually returning it to her side. She had not planned for this moment, yet somehow she had felt ready for it. Something deep-rooted and reflexive had governed her actions. Alice watched silently as the CEO, now more composed than before, received attentions from his staff and the medical team. His eyes, full of gratitude, met hers once more in a silent acknowledgement of the life-saving role she had played. As the event adapted to the now altered atmosphere, guests and onlookers lingered with a newfound respect for the unassuming shuttle driver. The silence hung in the air for a lingering beat before soft applause began to rise, spreading through the assembly as a reluctant yet powerful acceptance of the hero in their midst. Before long, the spontaneous applause intensified into a genuine ovation, a heartfelt recognition that resonated with warmth and unity. Alice, outwardly composed, permitted herself a small but genuine smile, her eyes meeting those of the crowd, acknowledging their gesture with humble acceptance. Despite her tendencies to shy from attention, there was comfort in the understanding that what she did had made a difference. A sea of faces mirrored gratitude and admiration, and in that moment, Alice felt a shift, an invisible barrier melting away, her presence recognized and her purpose validated. While the crowd began to dissipate and the event resumed with a far more tempered tone, Alice slipped quietly back toward her shuttle, returning to her designated post. Yet in her wake, she left an undeniable impression, a story retold, a perspective shifted, and lives forever changed by the silent shuttle driver's deft intervention. As Alice settled once more behind the wheel, ready to resume with newfound purpose, soft conversations and lingering glances followed her, the simple uniform unable to hide the woman who had held it all together, compelling the sway of perception from invisibility to undeniable valor. As Alice navigated the quiet streets on her way home that evening, the day's events replayed in her mind like fragments of an old film reel. Unwanted attention in all directions weighed heavy on her, yet the deeply rooted urge to help, to save, had already reshaped the silhouette of her life against the past she couldn't quite leave behind. The night was humid, a thin mist clinging to the city as she parked on a quiet street. She stepped into her modest apartment, locking the door with a soft click, keenly aware the serenity here stood in stark contrast to the chaos earlier on the tarmac. Exhaling, she embraced the silence before unfolding a worn photo album on the small kitchen table, turning page by page through scenes of a life once vividly lived in emergency's grip. The sights and sounds of her former years, flashing lights and quiet corridors filled with urgency, whispered through those images. Her eyes settled on one photo in particular, herself standing confidently in her EMT uniform, a younger version of the woman still underestimated today. Alice remembered those days with clarity, scenes flowing through her thoughts. She had been the miracle maker, the steady presence in the siren-filled din, trusted to perform under pressure. Tales of her quick assessments and life-saving interventions spread in hospital halls, her steadfast nature etching a reputation as a resourceful technician, unwavering in crises. But buried beneath those accolades was the personal challenge kept closest to her heart. A single mother balancing the demands of her career with raising her daughter, Isla, her beacon of light, alone amidst the hustle. That balancing act had always been precarious, but it unraveled spectacularly one tempestuous winter night. A call for help during inclement weather led to more than the motion-blurred scenes her life had sketched before. A near-forgotten road slick with ice, veiled by snow's relentless grasp, and her ambulance van met the darkness head-on. The crash had sounded like thunder in the stillness as her partner and close friend, Sam, lost his life in its aftershock, swallowed by a world that had slipped from control. In that critical moment, she'd been the one caught between the roles of savior and survivor, a life clung to with one hand, yet slipping irretrievably with the other. It was Sam's face that haunted her, emerging unbidden when she closed her eyes. Each attempt to save him had felt loaded with the futility she couldn't shake. From that night onward, she questioned every instinct, every protocol. Deciding against the risk of losing Isla too, she resigned her EMT post and bundled her intricate purposes into a life of quiet service, driving shuttles where the stakes felt manageable, leaving her heart tethered to prevention rather than confrontation. Settling into the routine of life without those flashes of heroism had provided a solace she clutched with quiet desperation. Yet the events of today furling around her this very moment suggested destiny was impatiently knocking again, compelling her return to duty's call, as if by acknowledging her past, it dared her towards a future of reclaimed purpose. As Alice sat in contemplation, she felt the years were hanging lighter on her shoulders, the burden of her self-imposed retreat lifting as if slowly guided by unseen hands. The menial whispers of self-doubt waned in the light of renewed confidence, recently rediscovered on a glistening tarmac under watchful eyes. Isla stirred faintly in her room, her presence in the small apartment a grounding force. Alice moved toward her daughter's room as her name was sleepily murmured among dreams. Pausing in the hallway, the weight of her past didn't press so forcefully any longer, a measure of resolution had stoked a shift, a rediscovery in the aftermath of chaos. Lost in thought, her attention was caught by an unexpected sound, a delicate knock at the door. Startled, Alice opened it to find her neighbor, Mrs. Harlan, whose eyes glimmered with curiosity. "I saw the news," she began, a smile softening her lined features. "Forgive the lateness, but I had to tell you how proud that made me. You've always been special." Alice offered a small laugh at the heartfelt sentiment bubbling in her doorway. "Thank you," she replied, expressing more than gratitude. It was an unspoken acknowledgement of a community that might always see what she'd been unable to in herself. Mrs. Harlan lingered a moment longer, a maternal warmth emanating. "You have it in you," she said softly. "Don't let the world forget that." As the door closed gently, Alice found her way back to the kitchen, her mind quieted by new beginnings beckoning to be explored. The past strained less heavily, promising guidance rather than confinement, a chapter she need not rewrite entirely, yet one to be recounted, reshaped in the wake of rediscovered promise. She glanced once more at the photo album, her gaze softening on a picture of herself in uniform. Tentatively, with the weight of conviction she'd rediscovered on the airfield, she returned it to its place, standing it upright on the shelf this time, a testament not only to where she'd been, but a touchstone guiding where she might allow herself to go once again. The morning sun streamed through Alice's modest apartment, casting warm illumination across the familiar creases of her photo album. As she prepared for another day of driving, the vivid memory of yesterday's event lingered, reshaping her regular morning routine into something that felt like the start of a new chapter. As she left her building and walked toward her shuttle parked on the quiet street, her phone buzzed incessantly in her pocket, an unusual occurrence that had only intensified since the prior day's headline-making incident. Alerts and messages from unknown numbers combined with a chorus of media requests filled her notifications. As the news spread rapidly, Alice attempted to navigate this new and heady onslaught of attention with her typical understated grace. Arriving at the airfield, the same faces that had once looked through her now greeted her enthusiastically, eyes bright with recognition. With each exchanged smile or tentative nod, Alice sensed a shift, a new narrative line drawn in the sand, from subtle dismissals to newfound respect. As she maneuvered the shuttle between terminals, watching the titans of industry navigate their world, chatter of the previous day's drama drifted back and forth over velvet seats. Conversation snippets flitted into her awareness as passengers marveled at her unexpected heroism. A guest, long trusted in her silence, now regaled his companion with Alice's resourcefulness, retelling the story in varying tones of dramatization. At lunchtime, Alice sat in the staff break room, the usual reticence supplanted by animated conversation. Her co-workers, previously absorbed in their own worlds, treated her like a VIP among their daily goings-on, their gesture of camaraderie both touching and somewhat surreal. Her quiet demeanor stayed outwardly constant, even as being referred to as a hero, or a wunderkind, echoed through the air, each word heavy with praise she wasn't yet accustomed to. A short time later, the CEO's assistant found her at the end of her shift, a warm handshake and an earnest smile eager to connect their world adrift from its constants. "The CEO would like you to attend a small appreciation gathering this evening, Alice." No fanfare, just a few guests and him wanting to extend his gratitude personally, she explained, her voice friendly, lacking any pretension. Appreciation. Alice considered the word, elements of personal struggle blending with the unexpected gratification of recognition. As tentative excitement settled in, she agreed to leave with the assistant. Quiet gratitude welled up alongside curiosity about this unfamiliar embrace of positivity that now hemmed her every moment. That evening, beneath the warm glow of walnut paneling and subdued ambience, Alice found herself again in the presence of those who yesterday had been figures on the periphery of her life. As she entered the elegant room prepared for the select few, she was greeted by nods of genuine respect. These people had known each other for years, but each exchange with Alice bore the intent of new introductions, all recognizing this compelling woman, so adept at navigating emergency but infinitely humble beyond its limited confines. The CEO, conversational yet subdued from lingering shock and gratitude, greeted Alice warmly. He commanded attention not with hauteur but now by investing the moment with sincere humility. He requested a toast, and a hushed silence followed, a moment of genuine commemoration. Holding the glass lightly, he addressed her. Yesterday reminded me, and everyone here, of the power of prepared hands and brave hearts. You saved me and set an example we should all endeavor to emulate. Each word thronged with appreciation and connectedness. Raising his glass, the room echoed with a gentle chorus of agreement, all eyes casting warmth toward her. Alice, her cheeks slightly reddened, nodded, short-spoken as she accepted the gratitude she'd never sought. With shared admiration resonating in the air, others began offering quiet thanks and short anecdotes detailing how deeply Alice had affected them, spelling narratives of quiet humility after a day that had previously gone unrecorded, unrewarded but not unremembered. Caught in this whirling trajectory of respect and acknowledgement, Alice absorbed these moments, nodding as she received each thanks, painstakingly keeping her humility intact. Yet each acknowledgement bore the weight of acceptance she fought with ease, paired with strength largely untethered until now. All the while, the world outside buzzed with digital echoes of her story. News sites shared videos captured during the event, angles reflecting the drama and resolute calm in Alice's actions. Clips circulated with thousands of views, spreading affirmation far beyond the venue's limits, from Ellis Street to digital screens worldwide. Old photographs surfaced as comments shared stories of Alice's days as an EMT, the familiar uniform, resolute stance visible even through low-resolution pixels, garnering myriad shared experiences, testimonials to her skill that quietly glimmered across screens. Testimonials flowed from peers, and past patients emerged with tales once buried in memory, each story sketched with eloquence, adding layers to her already rich narrative. As the evening at the appreciation gathering continued with dignified ease, Alice found herself amidst the rare ability to reflect and bask in an unanticipated validation of past virtues. Sufficient not in the heaviness of testimony but gently reminding her of the unseen junctions where she'd done good without expecting thanks. With gratitude delicately bestowed at the evening's end, amid a setting of newfound warmth, Alice returned homeward, her spirit buoyed by understanding and quiet perseverance. Nearing her doorstep, she ushered in familiarity, surrounded by expectation, carried by an atmosphere of newly intertwined threads. She entered her apartment, greeted by silence intertwined with budding resolve, a silence not intimidating but gentle in sheen, casting soft light over what had become her life's shifting tableau. With newfound agency, she found, in this shift, the ability not only to accept yesterday but to welcome untamed possibilities ahead, something she hadn't dared hope for in years. In the days following the transformative event at the airfield, Alice found herself in a whirlwind of opportunities and introspection. Her life had taken on a new hue, painted with the shades of possibility she had once believed were beyond her reach. The digital world buzzed continuously, a perpetual reminder of how her singular act of courage had rippled across social media and news outlets alike. One morning, as she sipped her morning coffee, savoring the quiet before the city's pulse quickened outside her window, Alice received an unexpected notification. The subject line was succinct but carried a monumental weight: "Opportunity of a lifetime awaits you." Curiosity piqued, she opened the email, and her heart stammered with disbelief. It was a personal note from the CEO she had saved, expressing his gratitude once more and extending an extraordinary offer. His company, known for its cutting-edge advancements and dedication to excellence, wished to sponsor her recertification as an emergency medical technician. It would open doors previously sealed by her past hesitations, a return to the frontline work she excelled at and missed deeply. Alice's initial emotions swirled between excitement and trepidation. Her fingers hovered over her phone, seeking the courage to respond. It took a sweeping sense of gratitude and the chorus of encouragement she'd received over the days to steady her resolve. In a meeting room echoing professionalism and the understated power of quiet resolve, she met with the CEO again, his demeanor warm and encouraging. "Alice," he began, his voice sincere, "not only did you save a life, we believe your skills can save many more. The program we're offering is rigorous but rewarding. We'll support you fully, should you choose to accept." She grappled momentarily with doubt, feeling the echo of her past failures, the fear of faltering again. Yet, every remembered face of those she had helped, and the profound gratitude of the recent event, pushed against reticence. She thought of Isla, of modeling strength and purpose for her daughter, and felt the apprehension lifting. "I accept," Alice found herself saying, her voice steady and sure. The room brightened with smiles and affirming nods. The decision, though daunting, felt undeniably right, a natural return to the path she was always meant to walk. With the decision made, her days took on new rhythm, one marked by training and study, reacquainting herself with protocols and revisiting past knowledge while absorbing new advancements in medical technology. Her training groups, once unfamiliar, became like an extended family, welcoming her expertise and perspective warmly. As she navigated the intense regimen of requalification, old skills brushed with renewed vigor. Month by month, Alice saw herself refashioned, her confidence rebuilt like a fortress on foundations that remained unshaken despite her detours. One evening after a lengthy day of training simulations and workshops, Alice returned home to find Isla doing her homework at the kitchen table. She paused, observing her daughter's diligent focus, her fingers smudge-marked with pencil lead from math calculations. It was an image that filled Alice with warmth and pride. "Hey, little one," Alice greeted as she placed her bag on a chair, bending over to capture Isla in a hug, a gesture shared between those who anchor each other's worlds. "Guess what?" Isla looked up, bright-eyed and eager. "What, Mom?" "I'm wearing a new uniform now," Alice replied, gently, yet the words carried the magnificence of mountains moved and fears conquered. She stepped back to reveal herself fully in her EMT attire, her eyes gently shimmering with the recognition of where she stood. Isla's face blossomed into a smile, the kind where delight and pride merge beautifully. She leapt from her chair to embrace Alice once more, excitement tripping over her words. "I knew you could do it, Mom. You're amazing." Those words settled into Alice's heart, the passionate encouragement she needed on those lonely pathways she had walked, now reflected by the light streaming from her daughter's eyes. Days calmly flew by as Alice's new role became a wellspring of joy and fulfillment. Her schedule filled with shifts, each one underscored by her reinvigorated passion to aid and assist. Her colleagues spoke of her wisdom as her actions became stories shared and relished among their ranks. And so, Alice moved through her revitalized life, weaving legacy with capability and humility, a testament to her personal evolution, neither discounting nor attempting to overwrite the part the shuttle driving days had played in reminding her who she was beneath the uniform. Alice often found herself pausing, in moments quiet and paused, to thank the serendipity that had taken a midday event into something life-changing. What had begun on an airfield, one day imbued with clandestine heroism, had crafted for her a new self, a blending of maternal tenderness with the steady conviction of one who has faced life's many trials and emerged stronger and more grounded in purpose. The transformation, more than a mere return to past dreams, was Alice's journey to authenticity and self-fulfillment. No longer was she the invisible shuttle driver but a celebrated healer, both to others and, in many ways still forthcoming, to herself. Her signature moment, once labeled a capricious act of fate, was in retrospect a deliberate spark igniting her path anew. These moments, cascading like dominoes once initiated, had led Alice Palmer to this realization: she was a tapestry of past and present, an evolving narrative of valor welcoming a deceptive silence, a testament to life's unplanned certainties and the profound power of believing in oneself.